everyone, Tyler here with something special for you guys, my very first deck tech, and I'm going to be talking about a new one I put together recently based on the new commander from Commander 2017, Taigam Ojutai Master. So really briefly, it's a 3/4 legendary human monk for 2 white blue. It has instant sorceries and dragon spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, if Taigam attack this turn, that spell gains a rebound. So you get a free copy on your next upkeep. So this guy is really fun to build around, really fun to play. The goal of the deck is to just keep grinding out value with Taigam through repeated attack steps that kind of frustrate your opponent and allow you to take extra turns, clear their blockers, and it's just grinding out value. Like I said, it's a little bit slow, but hopefully you kind of slowly tighten your grip over the game to the point where they can't really do anything. So far I've played a few matches with this, and a common result is that the opponent just concedes when they see you take 2 turns in a row or something like that. You don't even have to go infinite, but they often see the writing on the wall when you're just burying them in card advantage and tempo advantage. My deck is built more along the tempo side of things, being dual commander, different than like a traditional multiplayer commander where everyone's at 40 life and got 4 players. You kind of have to go infinite in order to win with Taigam. But a dual commander, you just gotta keep interacting with your opponent. It's really important, and presenting enough pressure that they can't really effectively compete or win the game themselves. So I broke this deck down into a few different categories. First, I'm just going to discuss creatures, then go on to some mana rocks, other miscellaneous artifacts and enchantments, cheap cantrips, some interactive spells, some card draw, card advantage engines, and then like haymakers or win conditions, and then lands. So I run very few creatures in this deck. Really, Taigam's the only offensive creature that can do anything in terms of attacking your opponent. I have a few creatures that offer protection: Benevolent Bodyguard and Mother of Runes. I have Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, who is a good commander in his own right, but given that this deck is so focused around instants and sorceries, you can really abuse that. The card draw is nice, but then you can abuse the Planeswalker side, Jace Telepath Unbound, pretty effectively. I also have Spellskite, which kind of goes under the theme of protection as well. As far as mana rocks go, pretty standard set here. I'm not going to discuss all of them, but they're all basically, I chose mana rocks that can produce colored mana, blue or white, and can let you play Taigam on turn 3. And in the case of Pentad Prism, I love this card. It lets you play Taigam on turn 3 with like 1 mana backup for some sort of protection spell, which is really nice. Or you know, if Taigam dies, you can recast him a second time much more easily with the 2 mana. Then we have some general artifacts and enchantments, and Torpor Orb is here just because there's no downside for me, and ETB effects are just so prevalent in Commander these days, in Dual Commander. So this just hoses a lot of decks, and it's really cheap. I've found it to be extremely effective. I almost run it in all my Dual Commander decks if I don't have any negative side effects for my own deck. I have a few equipment here. Runechantress Pike is a nice one. Obviously, this deck runs a ton of instants and sorceries, and so this really beefs up Taigam as far as his power. It's hard to close the game out quickly with Taigam, being that he only has 3 power and I don't have a lot of other creatures or offense. And first strike allows him to keep attacking unimpeded. Sword of Feast and Famine, great card. Extra good in this deck because if you get to untap, if you connect and untap everything, then on turn 5, it curves out perfectly because you go Taigam on 4, Sword, equip on turn 5, attack, untap all your lands, and then play one of your Haymaker spells, give it rebound. It's just a huge swing. And then Lightning Greaves is a staple. Gives it haste and protection, which are two both really important things in this deck. Treachery is just a fantastic card in any blue deck, really. This is just an overpowered card. I believe it's banned in MTGO 1v1 Commander, even. It's that good. And then finally, Aqueous Form. It's just a way to make Taigam unblockable in the case that they have a lot of blockers where he might get blocked by a 4/4 and you can't really abuse the second clause of rebounding your spells. So pretty cheap and effective way to do that. This category here, I have cheap cantrips. I have Ponder, Preordain, Brainstorm are just staples in any blue deck, any blue dual commander deck, really. But I have even more because they're just Taigam makes such better use of them than perhaps any other commander out there, because you're getting by getting a copy of a 1-mana cantrip, you're effectively drawing 2 cards for 1 mana. So that's insane, the rate. I mean, that's approaching Ancestral Recall basically. And you could run spells like Tidings, 5 mana to draw 4 cards, then you rebound it, then you've drawn 8 cards for 5 mana. But even then, that ratio of cards to mana input is not even as good as like a 1-mana cantrip. So I think the best way to abuse Taigam is just a flurry of these cheap spells, especially in dual commander, because of the excellent rate you get. So I have Brainstorm, Gataxian Probe, Ponder, Preordain, even Serum Visions. I had a few more in here that I ended up cutting, like Peak and things like that. I might put them back in because they're just that good. I'm always happy to have these type of cards after I've had a successful attack with Taigam, or even before that. They're always useful. Then I have a category of cards that are 1-mana cantrips, but they kind of help Taigam attack more effectively. Shadow Rift and Leap are some old cards you might not even be familiar with, but the key here is to attack with Taigam, and then during the Declare Attacker step, cast one of these cards like Leap. That gives Taigam flying, and it'll get rebounded because Taigam had already began the attack that turn. So you leap the first turn, maybe jump over a 4/4 blocker or something. They can't block you, and then you draw a card, and then you draw another card, and you get to have Taigam have flying on your next turn. So it's just great. So there are other cards like this that are sorceries, like more recent cards they printed have been sorceries, and I think they're much worse than the instants for that reason in this deck. And then I have Fleeting Distractions, just a cheap interactive spell that maybe lets Taigam attack into like a 4/4 or something like that, and still draws a card. Same thing with Twisted Image. Maybe Taigam attacks into a like a 1/4, and you can switch Taigam's power and toughness to take it down, or you kill Birds of Paradise or something. Just a really nice cheap spell. And Shelter, same thing, you can get past blockers, but you can also protect Taigam from targeted removal on their turn. So that additional flexibility, I think, justifies its extra cost. And drawing a card is key, obviously. All right, moving on, we have what I call like these interactive spells, and I grouped some removal here up at the top. It's kind of organized by converted mana cost, more or less, but I have Swords to Plowshares. I mean, I don't know any white deck in Duel Commander is going to run this card, but the fact that it's an instant is extra good so you can attack with Taigam again during your declare attackers. Sword's one of their things, and get a copy on your next turn. So instants are extra good in Taigam. Instants that can interact with their board, especially. Oust is a sorcery, but it's just so good, I think, that I wanted to keep it anyway. And Zoria's Charm, it's just a really flexible spell. The fact that you can draw a card is really nice. So even if you know, it's not as efficient as Ponder, but you can, if you're in a pinch, you just attack with Titan. If they have nothing to, no attackers or blockers to put on top, you can just draw 2 cards with the rebound. Unexpectedly Absent just is amazing, sets them back to the Stone Age. If you ever get to attack, use this before blockers, put a thing on top of their library, rebound it. I mean, they're not drawing a new card for 2 turns. It's kind of like a 2-mana Plowunder in a way at that point. Valorous Stance is another nice flexible spell because it's removal, but it's also protection for Taigam, and it's cheap. So I quite like that, even though you're often not going to get a whole lot of value off the rebound. And again, this is what I mean when I say this is oriented like a tempo deck, because I have cards like Snap and Snapback. All they do is bounce a creature, and normally these wouldn't be that playable in Duel Commander, but when you get them twice and they're effectively free, both of these, Snapback lets you pitch a blue card, and Snap untaps 2 lands. So, like I said, it kind of goes along the lines of just unleashing this flurry of spells that put you so far ahead on tempo that your opponent can't even effectively block Taigam, let alone mount their own offense. Council's Judgment, again, pretty much any white Duel Commander deck will want this card, but the fact that it's a sorcery really puts this into the amazing category compared to something like Oblivion Ring in this sort of deck. Psionic Blast, a little blast from the past. Again, the fact that it's an instant, just attack with Taigam, declare attacker step, blast their 4 toughness creature, or blast their face, and get a copy on rebound. And I have a few Wraths here. This one's probably the most interesting. I found it in just looking at search feature, but it's old card from Visions, Retribution of the Meek. Bury all creatures of power 4 or greater, so destroy them, can't be regenerated. And this conveniently allows Taigam to live through it, so you can keep attacking into pretty much anything. Then we have the 3 classic Wraths, Day of Judgment, Supreme Verdict, Wrath of God. And then we have a few counterspells / tricky spells. I have Pact of Negation and Force of Will are free counterspells, and Misdirection allows you to redirect something that's pointed at Taigam, like a removal spell, to one of their creatures. Alright, the next category I have are card draw / card advantage spells. Chart of Course is a new one from Ixalan, and I don't like the fact that it's a sorcery. I might end up cutting this card, but it is pretty interesting. One drawback is when you rebound it, you have to discard. So it's not quite draw 4 for 2 mana on a rebound even. Merchant Scroll is really useful in this deck. You can grab Force of Will, probably a lot of the time, Psionic Blast if you just need to kill them, Mystic Confluence, whatever you really need, and do it twice if you have a rebound. Pieces of the Puzzle, just a really nice way to get some gas if you're kind of flooded or you need to draw some spells to use with Taigam. You are almost guaranteed to hit 2 off of it, which is really nice. Call to Mind and Relearn are ways to really put the game out of reach if you call to mind a Time Walk type spell, take an extra turn spell. But it can be useful for anything, removal, Force of Will, whatever you really need. There's some card draw spells, Fact or Fiction, Cryptic Command, Mystic Confluence. Those are all staples in blue decks. But I'm going to talk about Gush here really briefly because I feel like Gush is extra good in Taigam just because it's an instant, so you can do it during declare attackers if you need to. It's free, so you can play, I don't know, Psionic Blast or Consul's Judgment and Gush in the same turn, both of which get rebound, and then you get to draw 4 cards for 0 mana. I mean, it doesn't get more efficient than that, so pretty nice. Then, and this is the category I call the haymakers and the win conditions. I have every 5 mana extra turn spell that does not exile itself, which is Capture of Jingzhu, Temporal Manipulation, and Time Warp. So there are more that cost 6, like Walk the Aeons, but I decided not to run those because I want to keep my deck's average converted mana cost lower. Capsize is an interesting one. This is the only buyback card I ended up putting in this deck, but it buybacks really has a really good interaction with Taigam because you can attack with Taigam, use Capsize just for the 3 mana, don't buy it back, but then when it rebounds, you have the option of buying it back at that point, so you can kind of split up the payments. So instead of paying 6 a turn to Capsize, you're really just paying 3 a turn, which is a huge discount. Submerge is, I put this in this category because it's kind of expensive, but against a green deck, it's just insanely powerful to attack, submerge their creature for free, and then get a copy on your next upkeep. This is a new card, Fractured Identity from Commander 2017. That's the fact that it's a sorcery. A lot of these similar cards are like enchantments or auras that take control of something, but with Taigam, obviously you want instants and sorceries, so that's really, really useful. You just steal whatever non-land permanent you want. And I'm trying out this card too from Commander 2016, Migratory Route. It's been performing pretty well so far. It's a win condition that is a sorcery, so you can copy it, and it puts a lot of pressure onto the board. You get 4 1/1 flyers and then another 4 1/1 flyers, and it has basic land cycling, so if you're mana screwed, that can be really useful. Get it back later with Call to Mind or something. And then finally, Bribery. I consider this premier win condition actually with this deck. You just take their best creature, and then if you're lucky, take their second best creature, and that should be plenty to win the game against most decks. All right, finally we have lands. I have basic lands, obviously a little bit more blue than white in the deck, so I have more islands. I have a few just dual lands and fetch lands here, and then I have some utility lands, and I'm not going to discuss all of these, but Ancient Tomb was just recently unbanned in Duel Commander, so that's a really nice way to get Taigam out on turn 3 if you don't have Mana Rock. Same thing with City of Traders, although that's been legal for a long time. And I think Maze of Ith is actually at its best in this deck because, you know, if you need to, you can attack with Taigam. If they have like a 4/4 blocker or larger, you can just maze your own creature, maze your Taigam, and remove it from combat, and then you still get the rebound ability because it attacked itself. And then Teleria West I included because it can search for any of these utility lands, and probably most importantly, Cavern of Souls. So if you need to really resolve your commander against a heavy control deck, you can use Teleria West grab the Cavern of Souls. This all can't be countered, and then you name human or whatever on the Cavern, and Taigam is uncounterable, so it's a way to sneak them in, and it doesn't take up a card slot like Expedition Map or something like that. All right, that's the deck, and I just wanted to finish off by mentioning some notable exclusions. I don't have many counter spells in here, except like ones that work with Taigam. I have like Mystic Confluence, Cryptic Command. These cards do things by themselves without needing a spell, your opponent to play a spell to counter, because you're not really getting advantage of the rebound ability of Taigam if you are playing counter spells. They do have some free counter spells, obviously Pact of Negation, Force of Will, but I wanted to see how far I could push Taigam's ability and abuse that, so that's why I don't run things like Counterspell, Mana Lake, so on and so forth. I might revise that as time goes on, but so far it's working out pretty well. I don't go fully on off the deep end with the extra turn spells. I mean, there's, like I said, cards like Walk the Aeons. There's cards like Not Forgotten that lets you try to keep looping these things, but you really don't need to go infinite looping your extra turns in a dual commander version of this deck. You just need to take enough to win the game. So I didn't go overboard on those. And one other thing that's kind of perhaps lacking, or you might think it's lacking, is other win conditions, and that might be a legitimate weakness of this deck. I considered like Dragon Lord Ojutai specifically would be a nice one because it's uncounterable when you have Taigam, and it's just a good card. I might end up putting it back in, but for the now, I decided I'd see if I can get away with the fewest amount of win conditions as possible. And finally, Planeswalkers. Again, I just wanted to see how far I could push Taigam in that sort of synergy direction without all these just generically powerful cards like Jace the Mind Sculptor or Elspeth. And so far it's working out pretty well. I mean, Elspeth would be nice. You could make Taigam fly and put pressure on them, make it harder for them to block them. But I'm just trying to see how few ways I can use to get away with. I can get away with just making Taigam just hard enough to block where I can attack and then have it survive and then get the rebound advantage. So that's Taigam Ojutai Master for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it, found it interesting, and if you have any questions or comments or things that you think I misbuilt the deck or I forgot about when I was building the deck, let me know. I built this deck from scratch. I didn't really look at any other lists. I just kind of looked through what I thought were blue and white staples and cards that would really shine with Taigam's abilities. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, Tyler from Duelcastermage.com here. If you enjoyed the video you just watched and all the creative content we produce here, we'd be thrilled if you could share your support by liking this video, commenting on it, subscribing to our channel, and contributing to our Patreon. Just click on the links to the side here to help out. We want to take Duel Commander and all 1v1 Commander formats to the next level, and your support helps us keep producing awesome content. Thanks for watching, and see you later.